Dan Lanning is a chef when it comes to 2025 class because he's staying cooking. And fall camp is underway. So we're going to review some of that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the CFB Nation. I am SC Romero. Welcome to the O.
All right, everybody got goals and aspirations. You know how you get those? You be the best where you're at.
What does Evan Stewart bring to the table here? In short, you get a ball.
The grass is not always green. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the O. I am SC Romero, here to talk about the Oregon Ducks. And this is going to be mostly about the fall camp. But before we begin, I want to shout out the 2025 commitment class. Depending on where you look, Oregon's anywhere from the number 10 to the top 7 to even the top 3. But they're making moves and they're working. Now, of course, a lot can change between now and that graduation year, 2025. But right now, let's shout out the commits that Oregon has. Quarterback, Achilles Smith Jr., running back Jordan Davidson, running back Daryl Hill Jr., wide receiver, we've talked about the wide receiver class already, the Corian Moore, Dallas Wilson, Cooper Perry, Isaiah Mose, offensive lineman Zaire Addison, Ali, I'm going to mispronounce his last name here, Colin Vuvalo, an offensive lineman, Dimitri Manning, all just great aspects. Go Ducks, Debbie Domination, I agree. Just great aspects, talented offensive weapons that are going to be coming to Oregon. I mean, competition is a word you're going to hear a lot, and not competition against other teams, but amongst themselves. And we'll get more into that in the fall camp here. And then on defense, you have the edge linebacker, Nasir Wyatt, defensive lineman Matthew Johnson, safety Trey McNutt, who recently, committed to Oregon. Excited to have him there. Thinking about him and Aaron Flowers in the backfield, just amazing. You have Dorian Bruce out of Conroe, Texas, and then Brandon Finney, another cornerback there. Again, man, Dan Lanning is cooking. He's not done. Yeah, the season's underway, but I promise you, Oregon has guys still scouting out people for that 2025 class. So I'm excited to see what they do, and that's not even including the transfer portal. We could get some guys in the portal too, just to make it worthwhile. But I mean, Oregon stays cooking. But speaking of camp, I've been thinking a lot. What are some words that we're going to hear a lot this season? And really, 3 come to mind. One is going to be hunts, because Dan Lanning says, hey, we're on the hunt. Going into the Big Ten, we are guys that are going to be on the hunt to show these guys that we're not here to mess around. We may be Ducks, but guess what? We're Lions when it comes to the field. We're going on the field and we're going to dominate. We're going to be hunting everybody down. Competition as another word. You look at fall camp, man, and Dan Lanning has said, this has been the best time since I've been in Oregon, because all the way through in every single position, there are guys that want to compete. And there are guys that want to do it. And not just, you're starting the guys that we assume are going to start, but the guys behind them. They're not taking it for granted that they're a part of the Oregon Duck community, that they're a part of Eugene, part of that greener grass. They're going to compete in practices, giving 110%. They're going to compete on the field against Big Ten opponents and other opponents they may face this season, give 110%. Competition is key, and they're going to continue to beat that. And another one I want to, another word I want to talk about is just progression. Dan Lanning's always talking about what's next for us. What can we do more to build on that? You talk about the team out west. How can the coaches be a better coach? And not just coaching their athletes, but coaching themselves as well. How can they evolve around each other to form a unity, a family? The fellowship amongst the Oregon Ducks is big. How can the athletes go out there and be mentors and leaders amongst themselves? Yeah, you have your captains, if you will, but how can the wide receivers step up? If Tez Johnson gets dinged up or misses his route, what other wide receivers there are going to be accountable and say, hey, man, I saw you did that. Stepping up and being a leader. And it's not about calling them out and saying, hey, you did something wrong. Yeah, that's accountability. But it's about telling them and say, hey, bro, like I noticed that. I know you can do better. Go do it. Right. And that's what we love to do. Jordan James looks like a young Royce Freeman. Yeah, swole, man. He's going to be explosive. And we're going to talk about Noah Whittington here in a bit, actually, another running back there in Oregon as well. In fall camp right now, Dan Lanning has expressed the importance of the defensive lineman, and not just the players specifically, but just the importance about giving them reps and having such a deep defensive line unit that they're able to cycle through. And he mentioned the pros that they've been talking to a lot of the pro scouts and coaches in the NFL and what they do for the defensive linemen. And he brought up, look at some all pro defensive linemen, they're not playing every snap every game. And he's like, that's a mentality that we're trying to come up with. That's why we built our defensive line to be what it is, that we have guys that can come in here and do great things and rotate. So our guys aren't getting tired. So every time they're on the field, they're out there to make an impact. They're out there giving it their all because they have that rest available for them. So I'm excited to see that, because especially going into the Big Ten, you have a lot of teams that have some power runners. You think about Nick Singleton. You think about Quinshon Judkins at Ohio State. You think about Donovan Edwards at Michigan. There's different running backs that have a little bit more physicality to their game, not as much as the elusiveness as you may have in former Pac-12 teams. So it's going to be important to close up those gaps quickly to make sure those running backs aren't gaining any kind of open looks or that red sea, if you will. Close up the gaps, make it tight, and build up on that. So having that versatility and that deep connection and that deep roster in the defensive line will be big. And I think Dan Lanning's excited for that. Another one, Dylan Gabriel was shining out tight end Kenyon Sadiq. And I don't think the tight ends get enough love, man. We talk about their wide receivers. I talk about their wide receivers. We talk about Evan Stewart, Trayshawn Holden, Jerrion Dickey, Ches Johnson, Jeremiah McLellan. Talk about them. Terrence Ferguson, Kenyon Sadiq, AJ Pugliano, Dylan Gabriel saying for Kenyon Sadiq, he's been the most consistent out in the practice field so far. He gets in the right spots. He's putting himself in the position to make the right plays. And that's something that draws you on the field, right? Just being aware of where you need to be. If the defenders are coming in or giving some press coverage or disrupting some of the wide receivers, it's up to the tight ends to get where they need to be so Dylan Gabriel can deliver. And Kenyon Sadiq is doing that. He's putting himself in the right positions to make the plays on the field. And we're seeing this in practice. And again, go back to that competition. That's going to do well because when they need him to step up, guess what? He's going to be able to do that. Now, running back coach Rashad Samples, came in. He said it's been fun, the momentum we've had with the 25 and 2026 class. He's staying hard, with the wide receivers and the running backs, recruiting them as well. And that's exciting to see. And he's excited to be part of the Oregon community. Again, I've said it multiple times. Dan Lanning is building something special. And it's not just with the players. The players believe, but he also has the coaches tapped in. And Oregon recently released a little video called The Team Out West, where he talked about, having a coaches retreat and how the coaches can be better. What does it mean for Rashad Samples to have Noah Whittington back? And he said right now it's been a mental process, right? He's putting in the work and coming back from injury, and that's always hard mentally. And I think as fans, as people that watch the game, we don't really think about that mental toughness that goes in with an injury. We just think about, oh, you're recovering, right? You're going through the process to get your footwork back, to get your strength back. You're doing all the things you need to do in that rehab, if you will. We don't think about what else it takes mentally, right? And that's a big step, right? Football is a physical game. When guys get hurt, it could play a toll on them. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to play this game again. So how do you get back from it? It starts with the coaches, starts with the trainers, but also it comes down to the player and having that mentality. And Rashad Samples saying, that's been a work for us, Noah, to make sure he has that mental strength, and he does. He's pushing it. He's showing he wants to be on the field. He's excited to see Noah. He says, coming to Eugene, you're the guy I hear about, how explosive you are. And on tape, the leadership is ageless. He's like, I command the room when it comes to the running backs, and the guys respect me, and they have toughness, and they ask questions, and they want to get better. And, in my early years in high school, even growing up, the teachers always say, look, if you have questions, raise your hand, right? And you don't want to be the first one to ask it. He's saying that's not happening in the running back room. These guys are anxious to learn. They're asking about his time in the pros when he was coaching Malcolm Brown for the Rams. They're asking about how they can get better. If they're doing something right, they're not saying, hey, coach, I did my rep. They're saying, hey, coach, what do I need to do to even be better than that? And you love to see that, man. This Oregon community, it's building up a trust. that they trust they can go to their coach with the question that the coach is gonna beat them down and say, "What do you mean? Why are you asking that?" Nah, every question is relevant, and these running backs are doing it. These running backs want to be better. Jordan James is expected to lead the backfield. Noah Willington has that explosiveness, and coming back from this injury, it may take some time, right, for him to actually get his feet wet, get his feet under him to be able to do that. But he's progressing, and Rasad Samples is leading that charge. Also, shout out Jay Harris, D2 athlete moving up to a Division I type of school in Oregon. That's big as well. And everyone around is doing something good in Oregon. Again, from the coaches to the players. It's all about the community. It's all about the energy they're bringing in. And, man, we're getting closer and closer to this. And I'm going to be breaking down, giving y'all a preview of the first game against Idaho State there. That's going to be big and what they do, and lots to come. Oregon is ready. The Big Ten, we're on the hunt. Again, don't let puddles fool you here, because these Ducks are ready to hunt. Ladies and gentlemen, this is SC Romero of the CFB Nation. Thanks for tuning in to the O. Peace.
Everybody got goals and aspirations. You know how you get those? You be the best where you're at.
What does Evan Stewart bring to the table here? In short, you get a ball.
The grass is not always green. In fact,